People's perception of how businesses treat each other, and in particular the relationship between small businesses and big businesses, is one aspect of forming people's wider view, their level of confidence in business more generally. And of course, that's what the Great Business Debate is about. And that's why we're asking, does big business benefit at the expense of smaller businesses? And Rebecca Seddon is here to discuss that with me. Rebecca, hello. Perhaps you'd like to just introduce yourself in terms of the business you work for and what it does.
Okay, so I'm managing partner at Process Management International, and we're a consultancy that helps build capability in our customers to improve their own businesses and their performance.
And you're also on the CBI's Economic Council and the West Midlands Regional Council, if I'm right. And you've said previously that you're particularly pleased to be supporting small and medium-sized regional businesses. Why does that matter so much?
It matters because in terms of our customer base, we've got both very big businesses, but also small and medium ones as well. And you can see the interrelationships between those businesses and how when they work well together, you can actually get good economic growth, good performance, and of course good employability and employment, which is what we're trying to do across the region in the West Midlands, but also across the country.
So to the main question then, do you think that big businesses are benefiting at the expense of small businesses?
I think you can say sometimes yes and sometimes no, and you can see good businesses that have both small and large who represent a cross-section who can see where they fit in that supply chain, because most big businesses will have customers who are small and they'll have suppliers who are small, and so most small businesses will have big customers and small customers as well as suppliers. And so you have to look at the systemic nature of the business. So you've got good businesses who will treat their suppliers well, and they may be big or small. So I think my point is that yes, you can have big businesses that do take advantage of their smaller suppliers, but similarly you can have smaller businesses that also do the same.
But of course people will say there's a power imbalance there, isn't there, almost inevitably. So if you're going to have misbehaviour, should we call it, it's much more likely to be the big company that's in a position to do that than a small one. Yes,
because obviously as a small business, you've got less flexibility, and that bigger company may represent a bigger part of your turnover. An example would be on the lines of recruitment. So if you're working for a big client and they take a fancy to one of your employees, offer them a job and take them away from you, there's very little that you would necessarily want to do because you didn't want to damage the relationship with that big supplier. However, of course, it's the systemic nature of that is it's damaged the fact that you now can't supply to that customer because they've taken your resource. So that'd be an example of bad practice, and where a small business would be hard pressed to actually do anything about that.
What else do you see then in the companies that you work with, or what else do they tell you about?
I think we see some very good practice where there's a sustainability of business approach that bigger companies are beginning to be wise to, which is, if we treat our suppliers better, they're going to be there for us in the future. And that more holistic approach of together we can help deliver whatever product or services we're trying to do. So there's a lot of good practice on that. That seems to have been almost a more recent phenomenon in terms of you're seeing more people asking how they can do that. So from a business services company, we're being asked to be involved in the supply chains of companies, more so because of that ethical dimension linked to the long-term sustainability of the businesses. So we are seeing people requesting to do that. Of course, as part of that, we've seen some very bad examples of how taking advantage of that smaller supplier means that then you maybe you don't pay them on time, for example, either deliberately or not, and suddenly they're in a crisis, a cash flow position, and they're out of business. So that means next year when you need that same service, they're not there as a direct consequence of you not paying them. So that's sort of bad examples that we have seen, and we've helped businesses with their procurement policies and policies on payment terms that can support their small suppliers who really can't cope with that kind of cash flow expenses, how they can make that better, and therefore everybody's performance gets better as a consequence.
What's your view then on how this all relates to wider trust in business, which is what the Great Business Debate is about?
I think it's that ethical piece and understanding that the ethics are not just for the hell of it. They're there because they genuinely can improve your performance to your final end customer, and having that good relationship, sustainable relationship with your suppliers, whatever the size is, concentrating on how you can together solve the problem or provide the product you're trying to do, is part and parcel of that ethical and trust element of business. And I think we are getting smarter at that, because where you don't do it, when we've taken advantage and you've taken the short-term benefit, we're now saying, oh, I haven't got that future to rely on. So I think it's part and parcel of that ethics and good business responsibility to whatever it is you're trying to do in your commerce.
Do you think the wider public actually really care about this? Are they aware of it? Are they bothered?
Well, a lot of the wider public work in those smaller, medium-sized businesses. So, directly feel that big company they were working for has done them over. So, that lays into the public, who will feel that every day, and will tell their friends about how they were influenced and had a negative impact from the big business. So, as I said, because so many people are employed in those small businesses, then ultimately, yes, it does.
Rebecca Seddon, thank you very much indeed. Okay. Rebecca Seddon is from PMI, and she's been taking part in the Great Business Debate.